Where are you headed this late?
Riverdale Heights, officer. I start my new job at 7:30 a.m.
That's about 7 miles from here. You've been walking the whole way?
Yes, sir. I've already walked 12 miles. My car died and its tow never showed up.
12 miles. You're still going?
I can't be late.
That's a long walk. You really said you were trying to cover about 7 miles out there before sunrise?
Yes, sir. My shift starts at 6:30 and the buses don't run that early where I'm coming from.
It's real dedication. Most people would have turned back or tried to call somebody.
Calling doesn't pay rent. I've got to show up,
You
no
ever
excuses.
think about getting a bike or something?
On July 22, 2024, the night air outside Riverdale Heights felt heavier than it should have. Not because of the weather, because of the math. Her name was Kara Monroe, 22, black and running on a budget so tight it squeaked. Since spring, she and her mom had been stuck in temporary housing on the far edge of town after a storm wiped out their old place. Insurance helped barely. The rest turned into a backlog of bills, late fees, and that constant pressure of knowing one more bad week could zero them out. Kara wasn't lazy, she was in grind mode. Applications everywhere, interviews when she could get them, shifts that paid too little and offered too few hours, nothing stable, nothing with runway. Then finally, she landed a real offer from Summit Line Freight, a warehouse operation on the north side of Riverdale Heights. The hiring supervisor, Janice Crow, ran the interview like a checklist. Availability, reliability, background, transportation. Kara kept it clean and professional, no drama, just I'll be there. Janice made it clear, onboarding starts fast and the start time is non-negotiable. First day. 7:30 a.m. sharp. Kara walked out of that office feeling like she'd just gotten oxygen back, full-time hours, a path, a way to stop watching her mom pretend everything was okay. She got into her car, an old sedan that had been warning her for months, and turned the key. It didn't start, not a slow start, not a struggle start, just dead. She tried again, clicking, a faint whiff of burnt oil. She popped the hood and saw it, dark smoke curling out like the car was exhaling its last breath. She stood there staring, trying to will the problem into a different reality. A mechanic later confirmed what her gut already knew. The engine was done, not fix it with a quick patch, done. The quote might as well have been $1 million. Kara went home and told her mom the car was acting up, because she didn't have the energy to explain how thin the margin really was. No savings, no backup ride, no bus route that early, no friend who could drop everything at dawn. She waited until her mom went to sleep, then opened her phone and pulled up the route to Summit Line Freight, walking directions loaded. The line on the map looked unreal, like the app was trolling her. Too far, too many turns, too much road. But the alternative was worse, missing day one, getting labeled unreliable, losing the one opportunity that finally moved the needle. In her world, that wasn't a small mistake. That was a full reset, so she made a plan that didn't feel like a plan, more like a last option. She set her alarm for just after midnight, laid out her most worn-in sneakers, filled a water bottle, stuffed 2 cheap snack bars into her pocket, and when the alarm buzzed, she didn't hesitate. She slipped out into the darkness and started walking along County Route 18, following the shoulder line like it was a lifeline. Head down, phone glow in her palm, the road mostly empty, the occasional car ripping past like a warning. At first it was manageable, then the miles stacked up. The sweat came, her breathing got loud. The "this is insane" voice in her head tried to take over. She kept moving anyway. By the time her phone clock read 3:11 a.m., Kara had already put down 12 miles on nothing but stubbornness. Her hands were braced on her knees now, chest heaving, legs shaking, not from fear, from pure fatigue. And that's when she saw it, a wash of light behind her. Then the unmistakable pulse, red and blue, closing the distance on the shoulder. The cruiser slowed behind her like it was measuring her, deciding what category she fit into. Kara's stomach dropped anyway. Out here pre-dawn, alone on the shoulder, you don't get the benefit of context, you get assumptions. The light stayed on bright enough to paint the wet asphalt in blue and red flashes. The engine idled. A door opened, footsteps, controlled, not rushed. Kara stayed where she was, bent forward with both hands on her knees, breathing hard. Sweat ran down her temples and into her collar. Her hoodie clung to her back. She forced herself to straighten up slowly so she didn't look like she was hiding anything. Because the truth was simple. She had nothing to hide and everything to lose. The officer's flashlight beam cut across her shoulders and hands, checking for threats the way training tells you to. Kara kept her palms visible. She didn't talk first. She didn't make sudden moves, she just waited. A voice, firm and tired from a long shift, broke the quiet. "Where are you headed this late?" It wasn't friendly, but it wasn't hostile either, just sharp, professional suspicion. Kara swallowed, tried to pull enough air into her lungs to speak without sounding like she was falling apart. "Riverdale Heights, officer," she said, voice rough. "I start my new job at 7:30 a.m. The officer paused like he didn't expect that answer. The flashlight dipped for half a second, then came back up. That's about 7 miles from here. You've been walking the whole way, Kara nodded, then forced the words out before the exhaustion stole them. Yes, sir. I've already walked 12 miles. My car died and a tow never showed up. The officer didn't respond right away. Kara could feel him scanning her shoes, the backpack strap cutting into her shoulder, the sweat-soaked hoodie, the way her legs trembled like they might fold. She could almost hear the mental checklist. Intoxicated, running from something, unstable, threat. Kara held his gaze anyway, not confrontational, just real. 12 miles, he said quietly, like he was doing the math again, even though she'd just handed it to him. And you're still going? I can't be late, Kara replied. I really need this job. That last line came out too honest to polish. It wasn't a speech, it was a fact. If she lost this job, they'd be back to asking family for time they didn't have, back to utilities on final notice, back to her mom pretending everything was fine while the walls closed in. The officer shifted his weight. The bodycam caught the micro moment, when suspicion runs into reality and has to make room. His radio crackled faintly with a dispatch update that had nothing to do with her. A normal world continuing while Kara's world was balancing on whether she made it to a warehouse door on time. He asked for her name, she gave it. He asked where she started. She told him the neighborhood on the far end of the county where her mother's cousin had taken them in. He looked down the road ahead, then back at Kara. The morning was coming, but it wasn't here yet. The sky was still a cold gray, the kind that makes everything feel unfinished. Kara didn't ask for help. She didn't even think she was allowed to. She just stood there, breathing, waiting for him to decide whether she was a problem to clear or a person to protect. The officer finally spoke again, slower this time. Get in the car. Kara blinked, unsure she heard him right. He repeated it softer, like he didn't want pride to get in the way of survival. Get in. I'm taking you the rest of the way. For a second, her face cracked, relief, disbelief, and that sudden sting behind the eyes when you realize you've been holding yourself together with nothing but willpower. She nodded fast, wiped at her cheek like it was sweat, and moved toward the back door when he opened it. She climbed in, seatbelt clicking like a decision made official, and the moment the door shut, the quiet hit her. The air inside the cruiser was cool. The seat was hard. The divider made the space feel smaller, but for the first time all night, she wasn't exposed to the road. The officer pulled back onto County Route 18 and merged into the empty lane, lights still flashing for a moment before he cut them off. Kara stared out the window as the shoulder line slid by, faster now, like time was finally cooperating. And up front, the officer glanced in the rearview mirror, just once, like he needed to confirm the same thing she was confirming. This wasn't someone running from trouble. This was someone running toward a future. The cruiser rolled through the last stretch of dark highway and onto the quieter streets that fed into Riverdale Heights. The world was waking up in slow motion, streetlights still on, gas stations still closed, only a few early cars moving like ghosts. Kara's legs ached even while she sat still, like her body didn't understand the chase was over. Up front, the officer kept both hands on the wheel, posture steady. He didn't try to fill the silence with small talk. That alone made her feel safer. When he did speak, it was practical, like he'd shifted into problem-solving mode. That's a long walk, he said, voice even. You told me you were trying to cover about 7 miles out there before sunrise. Kara swallowed. Her throat felt dry, like she'd been breathing dust for hours. Yes, sir, she answered. My shift starts at 7:30. The buses don't run that early where I'm coming from. The officer let out a quiet breath, half disbelief, half respect. That's dedication, he said. Most people would have turned around or called somebody. Kara stared at her hands in her lap. Her fingers still had that slight tremor from adrenaline and exhaustion. Calling doesn't cover rent, she said. I've got to show up. That got another pause out of him, like the sentence landed heavy, not dramatic, just real. The kind of line people post online when they're trying to sound tough, except she wasn't trying. She was stating her operating system. He glanced at the time on the dash, then back to the road. You ever think about getting a bike or something? He asked. At least until you're back on your feet. Kara nodded once. I've been saving, she said. Till then my feet do the job. The cabin went quiet again. The engine hum and the faint radio hiss filled the gaps. Kara's breathing finally slowed to something normal, but the fatigue was still there, sitting on her shoulders like a weight vest. When the sign for Summit Line Freight appeared ahead, her chest tightened. Not fear, pressure. This was the moment she'd been walking toward, literally. If she was late after all this, it would feel like the universe was mocking her. The officer turned into the industrial park. Long buildings, chain-link fences, security lights throwing harsh shadows. A couple of trucks already idling near dock bays, the kind of workday that starts before most people are awake. He pulled into the lot and stopped near the entrance. Kara checked the time on the dash. 7:07 a.m. She was early, not by much but early, and it hit her so fast she almost couldn't process it. The officer parked, looked at her through the mirror. You good to walk in? He asked. Kara tried to swing her legs out and immediately realized her body didn't want to cooperate. The muscles in her calves tightened like cables. Her knees wobbled. Yeah, she lied automatically because that's what she'd done for months, say yeah, even when it wasn't true. The officer got out first and came around. He opened the rear door, not yanking, not rushing, just giving her room. Kara slid out slowly, one hand on the seat for balance. The early morning air felt colder now that she wasn't moving. Her legs almost buckled. The officer caught it fast, practiced, one hand hovering near her elbow without grabbing her like she was a suspect. Easy, he said, take a second. Kara hated that she needed it, but she took the second anyway. She breathed in, held. Exhaled, they walked toward the entrance together. Kara could feel eyes from inside the building, workers passing a window, security staff noticing the uniform. A black girl being escorted by a cop at 7 a.m. didn't read as inspiration at first glance. It read as trouble. The officer didn't care how it looked. He cared what was true. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed. The front office was quiet except for a printer running and someone's coffee machine gurgling like it was working overtime. A woman behind the desk looked up, alert. Late 40s, hair pulled tight, don't waste my time posture. Can I help you? She asked, eyes cutting between Kara and the officer. The officer stepped forward, voice calm. Ma'am, I'm with Riverdale Heights PD. I'm here with Kara Monroe. The woman's expression shifted, first confusion, then recognition. That's our new hire, she said slowly. Kara forced herself to stand taller even though her legs hated her. The officer nodded once. I need 30 seconds, he said, just to give you context. The supervisor, Janice Crow, came around the desk, still cautious but listening. The officer didn't exaggerate, he didn't turn it into a speech. He just laid out the facts. Car died, no ride, no bus, she walked in the dark. He found her on the shoulder, already 12 miles in, still determined to finish. Janice stared at Kara like she was seeing her for the first time. Kara expected questions, suspicion, rules, paperwork, anything that would slow things down. Instead, Janice's face tightened in a way that looked like she was holding something back. Sit, she said, pointing toward a chair in the corner. Right now, don't argue. Kara opened her mouth, ready to say she was fine. Janice cut her off. Water first, then we talk. The officer gave Kara one last look like a silent "you made it," and then turned back toward the door. Kara watched him leave, still stunned by how close she'd come to losing everything and how one decision, his decision, had kept her in the game. But what Kara didn't know, sitting there with shaking hands around a paper cup of water, was that Janice Crow was already reaching for her phone. And once she hit post, this story would stop being only Kara's. Janice wasn't the type to get emotional at work. She ran a warehouse. She dealt with late shipments, busted pallets, and employees who swore they were 5 minutes away while still in bed. Her job was to keep the operation moving and the excuses out of the building. But the situation in front of her didn't fit any usual category. Kara sat in the chair like her body had been unplugged. Sweat had dried in salty lines on her forehead. Her hoodie was damp. Her hands shook slightly as she tried to drink without spilling. She looked like someone who'd fought a battle no one saw. Janice pushed a bottle of water and a granola bar across the desk. Eat, she said, slowly. Kara hesitated, pride flared up, automatic. I'm okay, she started. Janice held up a hand. No, you're here, that's the win. Now we stabilize. Kara nodded and took the bar, chewing like it was work. The first bites felt impossible, like her stomach was still on the highway. But after a minute, the sugar hit and the world came back into focus. Janice leaned back, arms crossed, eyes locked on her. Tell me straight, she said. You really walked all night? Kara kept her tone calm. Yes, ma'am, car died yesterday afternoon, I couldn't fix it. I couldn't miss today, Janice exhaled through her nose. Most people don't show up when it's easy, she said. You showed up when it was stupid hard. Kara didn't know what to say to that, so she said the only thing she knew how to say. I needed the job. Janice nodded like she'd expected that answer. Then she looked at the clock on the wall and made a decision that wasn't on any corporate policy sheet. Here's what we're doing, she said. You're not going out on the floor yet. You're gonna sit in that break room for an hour. You're gonna drink water, cool down, and let your legs stop trying to quit on you. Kara opened her mouth to protest. Janice's eyes sharpened. This isn't optional. I need you functional for the long haul, not heroic for 10 minutes. That shut Kara up. Yes, ma'am. Janice stood, walked to the doorway, and watched Kara limp slowly toward the break room. The moment Kara was out of sight, Janice pulled her phone from her pocket. She wasn't thinking about going viral. She wasn't thinking about followers. She was thinking like a manager who just met a person with rare character and knew it shouldn't disappear into silence. She opened her socials and typed fast like she was logging an incident report. She wrote about interviewing a young woman the day before, about the handshake, about the start time, 7:30 a.m., about the car dying, about the impossible route, about the fact Kara had walked 12 miles in the dark and still had roughly 7 to go when a Riverdale Heights officer found her. She didn't name the officer. She didn't post Kara's full identity. She didn't do anything reckless, she just told the story. Then she hit post and set the phone down like it was no big deal, except it was. By the time Kara finished her first bottle of water, Janice's screen was lighting up nonstop. Notifications stacked so fast she couldn't even read them. Shares, comments, messages from people she hadn't spoken to in years, coworkers tagging other coworkers like, "You gotta see this." Within 30 minutes, the post had left Janice's normal circle and hit the wider algorithm. People weren't just liking it, they were amplifying it. Because everyone knows what it feels like to be one bad day away from losing the plot, and this girl had decided to outwalk the problem. A local page reposted it. Then a neighborhood account. Then someone with a big audience grabbed a screenshot and added one line, "This is what determination looks like." Kara had no clue. She was in the break room with her head tilted back against the wall, eyes closed, trying to convince her calves that walking again was not required. When Janice finally walked in, her face looked different, not excited, not panicked, just focused. "Kara," she said, voice low, "I posted what happened." Kara's eyes snapped open. "Posted what?" Janice held up the phone, showing her the story already at thousands of shares. Kara stared like she couldn't translate the numbers. "Why?" she asked, not angry, just confused. Janice answered bluntly. "Because people need to see this. Everybody talks about work ethic like it's a meme, you lived it." Kara's throat tightened. She didn't want attention. Attention doesn't pay bills. Attention doesn't fix cars. Attention is unpredictable, especially when you're black and broke and the internet decides to debate your life. Janice must have seen that fear flicker because she added quickly, "I didn't put your last name. I didn't put your address." "Nothing like that." Kara nodded, still overwhelmed. Janice tapped the screen. "Look at the comments," she said. "People aren't dragging you, they're rooting for you." Kara scrolled with shaking fingers. Strangers were saying they'd been there. Strangers were saying she inspired them. Strangers were offering rides, shoes, job leads, prayers, money. And then she saw it. Someone had already created a fundraiser link in the replies. A simple caption. "Let's get her a reliable ride." Kara's stomach flipped. "I didn't ask for that," she whispered. "I know," Janice said. "That's the point. You didn't ask, you just showed up." Kara stared at the screen as the total climbed. The numbers moved like a slot machine. Hundreds, then thousands. And while Kara tried to understand how strangers could care this much, out in the real world, the story kept traveling, jumping platforms, getting reposted, reshared, repackaged into a headline. By noon, the warehouse had calls coming in, not from customers, from reporters. The first call came from a local station that usually covered weather and traffic. Janice thought it was a prank until the second call hit, then the third. By lunch, the front office phone wasn't ringing like a business line anymore. It was ringing like a hotline. "Is this Summit Line Freight? Can we speak to the hiring supervisor? Do you have confirmation the story is real? Can we interview the employee?" Janice kept it tight. No private details, no last name, no addresses, just confirmation that yes, someone walked through the night to make it to work on time, and yes, an officer helped her finish the last stretch. Kara tried to keep her head down. She took her first real steps onto the floor after she'd rested, learning the basic workflow, scanning, sorting, labeling. She didn't ask to go home early. She didn't ask for special treatment. She didn't even mention the post again, like if she ignored it, the internet would forget. But the internet doesn't forget. It scales. By mid-afternoon, the fundraiser link had been shared so many times it was impossible to track where it started. The goal was modest, just enough for repairs, maybe a down payment. But donations came in like a flood, $5, $10, $20. Then people started dropping bigger amounts with notes attached. "Single mom here. I get it, former warehouse worker, don't give up. I was late to my job once and lost everything, proud of you. God sees you." The number climbed so fast it didn't feel real. Kara's phone buzzed constantly, unknown numbers. DMs, requests, people trying to help, people trying to collab, people trying to turn her life into content. It was too much. Janice noticed her hands shaking again near the end of the shift, not from walking this time, but from overload. She pulled Kara aside and said it straight. "Listen, you're not obligated to perform for anybody. You did your part, you showed up, everything else is noise." Kara nodded, but her eyes looked glossy. "I don't know how to deal with this," she admitted quietly. Janice's tone softened a fraction. "You don't deal with it alone," she said. "HR can help filter, I can filter, we'll keep it controlled." That mattered. Because the fastest way a viral story turns ugly is when nobody protects the person inside it. When Kara finished her shift, she walked out of the building and saw two people waiting near the lot entrance with a camera. Not a phone camera, an actual camera with a mic. Her stomach dropped again. Janice stepped in front of her like a shield. "No interviews," she said firmly. "Not today, not without consent." The reporter tried to smile. "We just want a quick quote." Janice didn't move. "No." Kara slipped into the passenger seat of a coworker's car, someone Janice trusted, and they drove her back toward her mom's place. Only when she got inside the house did she finally allow herself to exhale. Her mother was in the kitchen, startled by how pale Kara looked. "Baby, what happened?" her mom asked, worry immediately rising. Kara tried to keep it simple. "The car died, I walked." Her mom froze. "You what?" Kara hesitated, then told her the truth in pieces. She left after midnight, she walked for hours, she got stopped, the officer helped, she made it. Her mom's face shifted from shock to anger to fear, all layered at once. "Why didn't you wake me up?" her mom demanded. "Because you would have tried to stop me," Kara said softly. "And I couldn't afford to stop." That was the moment her mom's eyes filled. Not because she was proud, because she was scared of what it means when your child thinks suffering alone is the safest option. Her mom pulled her into a hug and held on like she was trying to keep Kara from disappearing. And then Kara's phone buzzed again. "Janice." Kara wiped her face and answered. Janice didn't waste time. "I need you to sit down," she said. Kara's heart jumped. "Why?" "Because that fundraiser, it's not at a few thousand anymore." Kara braced herself. "How much?" Janice said the number slowly, like she didn't want it to sound like a lie. "It just crossed $38,000. Kara went silent. Her mom's mouth opened, but no words came out. Kara stared at the wall, trying to compute how strangers could drop that kind of money on someone they'd never met when her whole life had been defined by scraping. Janice kept going, and it's still climbing, fast. Kara whispered, "I didn't do anything." Janice replied, "You did everything, you just did it off camera." That night, Kara didn't sleep, not because she wasn't tired, she was wrecked, but because her brain wouldn't stop running scenarios. Scammers, backlash, taxes, people showing up at the house, people expecting her to be a symbol. Her mom sat with her at the kitchen table and said the only thing that cut through the noise. "We're gonna be smart," she said. "We're gonna protect you, and we're gonna use this the right way." Kara nodded, but the truth was, she had no idea what the right way looked like. And the biggest surprise of all wasn't coming from the fundraiser or the news. It was coming from inside Summit Line Freight, straight from the top. 2 days after Janice's post exploded, the front office at Summit Line felt different, tighter, more controlled. Janice told Kara to come in early before the floor got busy. Kara assumed it was HR, privacy rules, media warnings, maybe damage control. Instead, a man in a clean suit was waiting near the conference room. "Kara," Janice said, switching into corporate mode, "this is Martin Klein, regional owner." Kara's stomach dropped. Owners don't show up at warehouses unless something is on fire. Martin shook her hand, calm, direct. "I'm not here to put you on display," he said. "I'm here to fix a problem that never should have been yours alone." Inside the conference room, Martin kept it business. "I've seen the post, the coverage, the fundraiser," he said. "The internet can turn a real person into a headline fast. We're not doing that to you." Kara nodded, unsure what to say. He continued, "Your commitment isn't rare because you walked. It's rare because you treated your promise like a contract." Kara swallowed. "I just needed the job." "And we need people like you," Martin replied. "But transportation is a risk factor, attendance, safety, exposure. That shouldn't sit solely on your shoulders." He slid a folder across the table. Kara expected paperwork. Instead, she saw dealership documents. "A vehicle is being delivered this morning," Martin said. "It's yours." Kara froze. "I can't accept that." "You can," he said steady. "No strings, no repayment, no contract. This is leadership making a culture decision." He flipped the page toward her. "Silver 2023 Toyota RAV V4. Reliable warranty coverage." Kara's hands started shaking again, this time from shock. "Why?" Martin didn't give a speech, he gave a rationale. "Retention matters, safety matters, and rewarding character matters. You showed what show up really means. We're going to show up for you." Janice, watching from the side, nodded. "It's real." A knock interrupted them. A security guard leaned in. Dealer plates just pulled into the lot. They moved to the front windows. A silver RAV4 rolled in slowly, clean and unreal against the industrial parking lot. Martin placed a key fob on the front desk like he was closing a deal. "It's yours," he repeated. Kara picked it up with both hands because one didn't feel steady enough. A few days ago she was alone on the shoulder, lungs burning, forcing herself forward. Now she had keys that meant she'd never have to risk that walk again. And the thing nobody understood yet, the car wasn't the end of the story. It was the trigger for what came next, when the community started asking the uncomfortable question: how many people are quietly walking through the dark just to earn a paycheck and nobody notices? The keys didn't feel like victory at first. They felt like pressure. Kara sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, hands on the wheel, afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too fast. Reliable transportation wasn't part of her life. In her life, you planned around breakdowns and prayed nothing else failed. Janice tapped the window. "You good?" Kara nodded, eyes glassy. "I don't even know what I am right now," she said. "But I'm here." Janice gave a small, tight smile. "That's been your whole story." Kara drove back to her mom's place carefully, like the road might steal it back. When she pulled up, her mother stepped out onto the porch and froze. Kara held up the key fob and her mom's shoulders dropped like something finally unclenched. They hugged right there in the driveway, quiet, hard, the kind of hug that says we're still standing. Online, the wave didn't stop. The fundraiser kept climbing even after the car. People weren't donating for repairs anymore. They were donating because the story exposed something they couldn't ignore. By the end of the week, it stabilized just under $41,000. Kara didn't treat it like lottery money. She built a plan. Janice helped connect her with the support resources Martin offered: tax basics, scam protection, privacy boundaries. Kara locked it down: no random interviews, no strangers showing up, no location posts, no putting her mom at risk. She paid for stability first: deposit, utilities, overdue bills. She set aside a medical cushion for her mom, and she kept a chunk untouched because momentum dies when people get reckless. At work, she didn't become a mascot, she became consistent. She learned the system, hit her metrics, stayed professional, kept her head down. A few weeks later, Janice pulled her aside. "Second shift laid," she said. "You earned it." That didn't go viral. But it mattered more than anything that did. It was repeatable stability, and the ripple effect moved offline. A local church started organizing early morning rides for workers. A mechanic offered discounted checkups for essential staff. A community center began putting together emergency transit help, small, practical support for people who can't afford one bad day. The officer didn't chase attention either. He kept working his route. The department still recognized what he did: measured, respectful judgment under pressure. At roll call, he received a commendation. He accepted it like it wasn't a big deal. When Kara texted him later, "Just thank you again," he replied with one sentence: "Just keep showing up." That was the point of the whole thing. Kara didn't go viral because she walked. People struggle quietly every day. She went viral because her story forced one uncomfortable question into the light. At 5:08 a.m., if you saw someone on the shoulder, sweating, breathing hard, still trying, would you assume the worst, or would you stop and help them finish the distance? Drop your take in the comments. What would you have done in that officer's position? And if you respect how Kara moved, no excuses, just execution, hit like and subscribe. More stories like this are coming.